Welcome, everybody. This is the Warheads, and this is our new page, the Warheads Entertainment page. Welcome, everybody. My name is Roscoe Brown, and I'm with my partner,
Apocalypto Joe.
Yeah, and today on our new page, we're gonna go into a topic, a very hot topic. That me and my man just kind of thought up, and we want to get into NWA, the world's most dangerous group. And today we're gonna kind of discuss the lineage of NWA and discuss some of the impact, good and bad, that the group has had, on hip hop overall. So. I'm going to go in and let my man Apocalypto go into his take. And you can go ahead. Yeah.
All right. So, we all know that some of the roots of NWA starts off with the world-class Wrecking Crew when Dre and Yella was doing their thing.
Yeah.
But what I find interesting about NWA and the group and the crew is there was a crew member, and I'm sure you're aware of this. Back in what was it, 1990? What was his name? Candyman. He was knocking boots.
Yeah. I remember Candyman. Yeah, knocking the boots.
Before the 90s, before he was part of NWA and the posse, he was a posse member.
Yeah, he was a posse member with the curly shag. He had the curly shag.
Before he was Candyman knocking boots, he was part of the most dangerous group, but he was a posse member. He wasn't part of the main crew, but he was the posse. He was support. And I always think that that's interesting, how you go from being part of the world's most dangerous group, singing them love songs to the girls, knocking the boots. Right. You see that fool's face right there? That's Candyman. Look at him. Look at that fool. He was part of NWA. But that's just one member of the legacy of the group that's NWA and what it spawned on to create. And that's what we're going to go into today. Is there anything you wanted to touch on, Roscoe, as far as the world's most dangerous group is concerned?
Well, just starting from, you kind of started from the beginning with the world-class Wrecking Crew, and then the posse as they would morph into, and then, the evolution would come and they would cut down on some of the members, and we'd be left with I guess the five, or was it five or six main members of the group? Yeah. So you got the main five, and then we get a lot of the great hits that we get from them at the very beginning. Gangsta, and a bitch is a bitch. Man, and I just remember NWA in the beginning, and us being kids, you know what I mean? And I don't know if you remember this, but there was one of our guys, Knuckles. He had one of the Eazy-E albums that had Eazy-E's on the cover, and he has one of the pairs of Jordans. I know the kids know all the numbers to the Jordans and all that, but I don't, but yeah, no, there was an image of Eazy with the Jordans on, and I think his, had like green on the part where, because he had these were like white joints, and they had the gray normally, like kind of off on the side and to the back, but his was like green in that area. So, just dope shoes. I know I went off a little bit, but yeah, but yeah, the group earlier, they were making their hits and making their name and doing their thing, and then eventually we would get to a point where Ice Cube, he kind of splinters off I know that that was touched on in like the movie that everybody would see and stuff. So that's stuff that everybody would know about him departing. And then you would get Dre eventually to leave and separate from the group. Both guys going on to be successful. Ice Cube at first with, America's Most Wanted and all that good stuff. And then Dre, he would go on to form Death Row Records. And then we would get, before the Chronic comes about, there's a big discovery, as we talk about the tree and its lineage. One of the bigger branches to come about would be your man Snoop. So somewhere, I'm guessing, let's just say 90, 91-ish or whatever it is at the time. And your man comes up with, finds Snoop Doggy Dogg out of nowhere. And they drop Deep Cover, and that pretty much changes the world. When Snoop came, it was just like, I can't even explain the impact of when, if you're just talking about Deep Cover, we haven't even gotten to Doggy Style and all that, which I'll let you talk about some of that stuff. But before you even get to Doggy Style, he pops up on Deep Cover, and the anticipation for any project that was coming from Snoop after that was so crazy, dude. It's just unexplainable when you talk about how much the streets were just clamoring for this dude, because you hear Snoop, he was so smooth, so fluid, and that beat was just so dope, and the back and forth between him and Dre. Deep Cover just really set the palette and set the tone for what would happen with Death Row. But I'll let you go ahead and say your piece.
All right, so Roscoe Brown. I'm gonna pretend like I'm one of your cousins right now. Doc Brown from Back to the Future.
Okay.
Marty, we gotta go back. we gotta tell the people about what happened in the summer of '89. But if you remember, it was me and you at the Rosemont Horizon.
Oh, dude, I forgot. Oh my God, I forgot.
Me and you actually went to go see NWA. Like, it was the night before they got arrested in Detroit by the police and the FBI.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you remember this. I do. I remember it crystal clear. The DOC. You forgot about him.
No, what's funny is that most of that night I have forgotten. I won't even front. But the DOC part, I do remember.
Okay. Well, the DOC, I remember before he blew up, before he was put out there, he was the opening act that night. And I remember telling you, oh, this dude is dope. He gonna be big. I knew the DOC has star power. That was Dre's homeboy out of Houston, Texas. The DOC had everything that it took to be like a part of the world's most dangerous group. Unfortunately, his rap career was cut short because his larynx got crushed in a car accident. But the historic night where the police actually infringed on their First Amendment right of freedom of speech, me and Roscoe were actually at the concert the night in Chicago at Rosemont. We had really good seats. We weren't in the nosebleed. We were pretty close to the damn stage that night.
No, we were close. We were close. And dude, I remember like he performed the song "Let the Bass Go."
Yes.
Now, mind you, nobody from Chicago at the time knows who DOC is really, so he gets up, he's doing his thing. But when Let the Bass Go drops, dude, the bass was so loud up in there, bro. You know what I mean? And nobody knew who this dude was, but people were going crazy just off the beat.
Right.
The beat was making people go crazy. So that I remember about that.
But yeah, like I said, star potential out the wazoo. DOC, he would have been, in my opinion, one of the greats, if not for his career getting cut short. With Dre on the production and his rhymes, like they were just ahead of their time at the time. And so I always remembered that because for a minute, the DOC, I bought his debut album. I knew he was a offshoot from NWA, but I loved that first album of his. And so as we move back to Snoop, I think I skipped over Cube. Cube, he himself, he's still a member of NWA. I know they got back together to do a few songs, but when he drops that America's Most Wanted, because Jerry Heller was messing with their money, America's Most Wanted has to be all-time top 10 rap album ever. That's one of the rare albums where you can just put it on and you don't have to skip a track. What's the Gangsta's Fairy Tale? What's the fairy tale song?
Yeah, no, I know it was like Gangsta's Fairy Tale or something like that, but there was the one song, Once Upon a Time in the Projects, was like the crazy hood anthem, and of course we are from the projects, so yeah, no, it just had all the projects going up, at the time. So yeah, Cube and the impact of that album when it dropped was just something amazing. It was incredible. Had the streets going crazy, was buzzing like I don't know what. But yeah, like you said, Cube, he definitely left an imprint with that album.
Yeah, it was a Gangsta's Fairy Tale.
Yeah.
But very classic album. I loved it. Even The Bomb, produced by Hank Shockley, producer for Public Enemy. That whole album just banged from beginning to end. It missed no notes. It was something appropriate for someone like Ice Cube, in my opinion.
Yeah, the Shockleys, they did work on that album. Them and some other producers, I'm sure. Guys like Pooh and that were part of the production process as well. But the Shockleys just went to work and just great production at the time. So I agree.
Yes. The other thing that I like to take note of is moving forward, as like you made mention before, when Dre went over to Death Row Records.
Mm-hmm.
We know what kind of work he did with Tupac, the All Eyes on Me, and the Machiavelli, the 7-Day Theory, Don Illuminati. Dre put together some very classic work while he was over there. I know he left a lot of work before he left to start Aftermath, but Dre had his hand on, he's really the maestro of all this.
Yeah.
Together so much, and people don't, I think people do recognize his place in hip-hop history, especially in connection with this group.
Yeah. I just want to go over like some of that stuff from them Death Row years, because the people from our era, they realized the impact that that the Death Row had at the time. But the people the people who are not from that time and weren't around to kind of witness the real impact of like I said about like Doggy Style, and then first of all, and I know I already talked about the anticipation that came with Doggy Style, but I have to go back and talk about that, because the streets were really, really buzzing really hard about Snoop before his album even came out. And the one thing I remember about like the night that Snoop's album came out in Chicago and how long the lines were. Like that, it was like, and this was like not a thing for, you know what I mean? Like people didn't normally like wait and stand in line for albums like this. Not at this time, like they would like for the Jordans, like they would now or something like that. But people didn't do that back then. But they were doing that at this point for Snoop's album. Like everybody needed to have that album, you know. So
the golden era of hip hop.
Yeah. So you had that, but then you know you go into the Chronic, and again, just I mean, epic ain't even a big enough word for the Chronic. You thought Doggy Style was something. The Chronic actually changed hip hop. Like G-Funk was the thing now after this album came out. Like everything that came from the West Coast had that kind of sound, you know what I mean? And at the time, the West was so dominant, you know, like the East would just kind of just, and I'm always a fan of the East music, boom bap. I'm ahead forever, but yeah, the West just put a stamp on some shit at the time, you know. So yeah, that album did crazy, you know. But yeah, Dre and his impact, not to mention, you know, some of the the soundtracks, you know, you could go Above the Law and Murder Was the Case. You know, let's not forget about Dog Food and the fucking Dog Pound, you know, and a classic album. So everything that was being dropped by Death Row was like classic. Like all these albums that I'm naming are like classic albums. Every single one that I named. You know what I mean? Like the Murder Was the Case, all everything I named. You go back, classic albums. You know, and and there's more of them. You know what I mean? Like you do the research of that period, and yeah, Death Row was just doing their thing. But you could go ahead, man. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna bring up how I still listen to that Above the Rim soundtrack to this day. But even above and beyond that, we think about Dre and him bringing Eminem to the forefront. Yeah. And even from Eminem puts on, who's that, D12?
Yeah.
Collection of 6 MCs, you know, all from that NWA Family Tree. But like the movie, 8 Mile, I think 8 Mile is probably one of the best hip hop movies ever made.
Yeah.
Especially that last battle, just to kind of go back into our regular Warhead mode, when B Rabbit is totally accepting of his life. He's not trying to hide who he is. He's able to battle free world. He's able to tell them of all his failings, all his shortcomings, and truly be accepting of who he was. And even though that's a fictitious account, those type of accounts should spill over into the real world. When we're dealing with one another, you have to be able to accept yourself before anyone else can accept you. So stop lying to people.
Yeah.
Live your truth.
You're right. He totally disarmed your man with truth. Yeah. He disarmed Free World, rather, you know, and your man Clarence, who has really nice parents.
Yes, lives at home with 2 parents. It's not a bad thing. We're not laughing at that.
No, because he just went in on Clarence.
We want two parent households all across the board.
No, we want that. We want more Clarence. We want more Clarence.
It's not toxic, you know. You ain't slapping your wife, beating your kids.
Oh yeah, but Yeah, no, and then I guess after Eminem, I guess he would be responsible for uh, bringing in 50.
Yes.
50 in G Unit. So again, the tree grows even more. Because yeah, they're definitely a part of the tree, and 50, and I like G Unit, in their heyday. But I am a huge, huge, huge 50 Cent fan. Always have been, always will be. I love him. The petty annex, I take that even. You know what I mean? I'm not a huge fan of petty, but when it's coming from 50, I take it. You know what I mean? But 50, he came in the game on, he came in on some petty, came in on some how to rob and all that, so he came in talking, all kinds of shit to whoever would listen, and all his bravado, and of course he takes out, and I'm so happy that he did, because I'm not a Ja Rule fan at all, but he took out Ja Rule, so but what's funny about that, always, and I'm gonna be real, because and people already know this, but it's so funny that 50 would make all these cracks and jokes about Ja Rule being singing on his songs and all this and that. It sounded like Kermit the Frog and all this and that, so that was funny. But he goes and destroys Ja, and then he kind of does a little bit of Ja. you know, I don't know, so he sang a little bit on some songs, you go back to 21 Questions, that's very Jaish.
Right.
Yeah, there was that, but otherwise though, my man 50 has always like dropped heat. I'm a big fan, but me being a guy who's been a guy who's did some rapping in the past, but the beats are always just like banging, and 50 knows how to rise these joints, and you go into G Unit, and I guess if you're talking G Unit for a hot split second, you gotta throw in Game, I guess, or you could just add Game because he was attached to Dre, but yeah, he's a part of that, until he goes into GU not mode, but of course he's hot. The rest of the G Unit, Tony Ye, he wasn't the greatest, but I had affection for him, I think he could have did a lot more, and I'm sure 50 thought the same, about all those guys, Lloyd and Young Buck, minus the indiscretions that he's been having with, some weirdos. But otherwise, though, yeah, just profound work by those dudes, though. But you can go ahead, Phil.
I was just gonna say we can't forget Kendrick Lamar. He was crowned the Prince of the West Coast for a while. I don't know what the brother's on now, but I loved his albums, even his stuff that was untitled. But we get classics like Friday from this NWA Family Tree.
Yeah.
And even 50 Cent being the executive producer of the Power series. And I hear he's doing a Black Mafia family biopic movie as well right now. So 50's doing his thing. I really do appreciate, as much as NWA, through their beefs, we get No Vaseline and 100 Miles and Running. We get some classic hip hop battle rhymes from this family tree. But more than anything that's important is they come back together and unite and squash the beef. But we gotta give a shout out to Eazy-E. He's the one that made NWA jump off. He gave the money, he put the money behind the crew. And so it was a selfless act, even though he wasn't a rapper, he did his thing. I love Eazy-E as a rapper. I can remember growing up listening to him. And so he was the leader of that group. And I just really appreciate what they did for hip hop. It gave hip hop a different face. We grew up with the conscious rap and a lot of the MCs who just had style and could flow like Slick Rick and Big Daddy Kane. And even though gangster rap can take a bad rap, we should understand that gangster rap is no different than an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. You're not supposed to be doing that nonsense in the streets. You're supposed to listen to it, just like you see Arnold Schwarzenegger kill 100 people in a movie and you walk out and don't try to kill 100 people. You should be able to listen to gangster rap and be like, okay, I'm not gonna go kill my rivals around the corner who just so happen to be wearing another color from the spectrum of the rainbow. We should unite under this, not all that nonsense. Red and blue make green. We should be trying to get money, feed our families, take care of ourselves, buy property. None of this nonsense anymore. But NWA, like I said, for what they did for me in my childhood and even my young manhood, I truly appreciate them.
Yeah. I could definitely say the same thing. Like, you brought up, just a tiny bit of like maybe some of the bad that's been alluded to about, gangster rap and, NWA and their part in it, because because we live in a world where there are a lot of people who are easily influenced by whether it be movies they see or songs that they hear. When you put out negative content, there are people who are listening and looking at these things and are getting ideas about things, so the bad, if you will, is that NWA and groups like them were allowed to shepherd in, kind of a lot of the garbage that we do see from hip hop. You know what I mean? A lot of the bullshit that we see, a lot of the negative stereotypes, just a lot of negativity that's been helped push through this music, and I don't directly blame it on us. You know what I mean? A lot of these people who partake in this are just young dudes who are just trying to get money, trying to make ways to feed their family or whatever, and whatever lick that they can hit right off the back is whatever. So they doing that, but they not really taking into account the long-term effect of this stuff. You know what I mean? So there is that. But at the same time, like I said, they were allowed to push this because there was a time in hip hop where, you could be NWA and be successful, but you could also be, De La Soul. You could be A Tribe Called Quest. You could be Public Enemy. You could be BDP. You could be Big Daddy Kane, MC Light. You could be all these different things and still be successful. All these different groups and things and solo acts were able to exist in the same era, kind of, and be successful. So, you only fast forward to just a couple of years later where, kind of gangster rap kind of just dominated everything, and groups like NWA helped push that envelope, but and I know for certain that was the case. I can remember as a young kid, like me and some of my guys, we happened to go over to the East Coast in the early 90s, and we actually happened upon the Chronic just on some craziness. We right before we making the road trip, we stopped at the record store to just grab some tapes to have driving music. So at that point, there was no promotion for the Chronic beforehand. You know what I mean? So it just was in the store. We just happened to see it, white tape with Dre's face on it. Didn't even know he was a solo artist. Apparently they broke up. He's broken up from NWA, as we will find out at the time. So we just grabbed the tape. We're playing it on the way. We loving the tape. You know what I mean? So when we finally end up in Pennsylvania, Eastern Pennsylvania. Shout out to Jimmy. Rest in peace to Josh Newton. But yeah, we get out to the East Coast with the tape, and it just went crazy over East. We had a big party out that day, but a lot of that night was just us playing this tape and people grooving out to the Chronic, and we was on the East Coast. We were on the East Coast, so that nobody knows of this tape, but we just rocking out to it and loving these songs, you know what I mean, for the first time. So yeah, just big impact from this group. But yeah, like I said, they influenced and made a lot of people change the way that they were doing their stuff, and everybody felt like they had to be gangster, whether